Hello there, Stev here. Hope you guys are doing well. I haven't uploaded videos for a while. I have a bit of an internet situation that it's a little bit limited, so can't upload as much as I'd like. Also for time, so hopefully I'll get some more videos out soon. Maybe have some Daisy playthrough. Let's see. For today's video, I'm going to go back to playing chess, and I want to go over a challenge that I've been playing recently against the chess.com bots. And this is inspired by what a lot of streamers are doing now. For example, playing against the Leela bot on sites like Lead Chess, where they'll give it a piece odds, and it's a stronger player than you, but you try to kind of prove your starting advantage of being that piece up to take the W. It's not as easy as it looks. I started with the Hikaru bot, but I found it to be a little bit too much interesting in trading down, which is a welcome thing to do. If you're playing against a strong player and you have the material advantage, trade down. The Magnus bot, on the other hand, is quite a beast. I've gotten a few wins, but I would say it doesn't play as strong as the Leela bot from what I've seen. It's not like playing close to perfection. It will slip up sometimes, but it's a long kind of grind to prove your advantage, and it does similar kind of it presents similar challenges to what Leela does. It will try to control space with the pawns. It will cramp and limit your pieces. Um, it tries to always play with initiative out of the opening and avoid trading anything if it can help it, unless it can like damage a pawn structure, get a pawn. So sometimes that's a way to go, just give up a pawn. If you're already a piece up, you can still work with that. And I'm playing on the chess.com app. Now the way to do it on the chess.com site, which annoyingly is a bit more limited, I'll just show you the workaround. So if you went to go and play bots and you pick the bot, this is the way you would do it on the app. You would come over to custom settings and pick type custom setup, but you don't have that option here. So what we'll need to do is go over to analysis. It's just going to pop up every time. Sorry about that. And then come here, practice versus computer. So let's just close that out. And then we're going to choose, all right, I've already done this wrong. We need to choose a custom position first before going to set up position. So I've been playing with myself as white first, then as black. And the problem with the Magnus bot, sorry, I'll just go on a tangent here, is that it always repeats moves out of the opening. So it gets a bit dry, and eventually the way I've beaten it is by getting a bit out of the opening phase, finding something I'm happy with, and then converting that win. So I'm going to try to play a setup that I haven't, which is Magnus playing as white and no Queen's Knight. So that will just be fresh and new. Okay, so that's the setup position. Practice versus computer. And then we're going to turn a few of these off. So we don't want any of this stuff. Let's also take off show legal moves. I think I'm allowed takebacks, but I'm not sure if I'll need that. And then I want to flip sides. And then you just come right now, it's playing against, excuse me, the maximum strength, I guess. I don't know what it uses, Komodo as the engine, or Stockfish. So let's pick a bot, because I don't want to play against their version of perfection. Let's go ahead and choose Magnus here. Switch sides. You could do this against any bots, by the way. So he's going to open with D4. Okay, that intro out of the way. Let's get into the actual game. Now, I haven't put any kind of yeah, other features around, so hopefully I can still show arrows. Yeah, that all works. Fantastic. And let me just check that I'm recording, so I had to pause, someone came. All right, all good, everything's working. Okay, so there's no time limit here, so I'll have time to work this out. Try not to drag it on too much. All right, so out of d4, it's missing the queen's knight, so right away these two squares are going to be less under control. So I'm thinking that d5 is a nice immediate response. Now you could choose a quieter setup, like fianchetting your bishop, maybe some kind of King's Indian attack. But I wouldn't really recommend it because one thing it's quite good at doing is cramping your position with the space it grabs with pawn moves. So you're going to want to challenge its pawn moves, trade off where you can, etc. So I guess try to go with general opening theory. And the other thing is that by missing a piece, say it was missing this knight, it's going to be able with like 2 moves to castle very quickly, so it can get some very quick development. So there is a trade-off, whereas you've got to sort out getting a few more pieces out of the way. C3 works well here because that knight, it's not blocking in that knight from coming out. Reinforcing d4. Now I like the idea of c5 here. I don't think it's necessary as a sacrifice. So I think just a simple move like e6 and then maybe prepping c5. So I wonder if it wants to castle queenside very rapidly. This looks like a potential plan. I'm already feeling good out of this opening. This doesn't look very scary. So I guess it's going to try to get the queen out of the way, castle, and then the rook is going to be staring down my queen. But until it plays until it sets up e4, this is looking quite solid for me. So I think I can already do c5. Okay, so kind of like a reversed Slav defense from white. Interesting with this triangle here. All right, I'm going to leave the tension here. I think that's fine. And probably just get this king's knight out. That's all right. Maybe play h6 or some kind of quiet move. It might be waiting for this to pin my knight. I'm not sure how effective that will be. But I kind of like this move. Okay, so maybe it's just going kingside after all. Now I could consider going queenside, but of course I have weakened myself here. I could also just try to trade the bishop, which I actually think is a pretty strong move. I don't see any jumps on my queen after that happens. Now the bishop's not going anywhere, so I don't have to trade it immediately. Although it may block with the knight. I suppose I'm releasing the protector of this once I do trade. Although maybe it's going to go for an isolated queen's pawn. Let's just castle. See what it does. Okay, rook's there. Now I'm attracted to knight c6 here, just to, in the event of this stuff, to force white to recapture with the pawn and not the queen, and leave it with an isolated queen's pawn there. Looks alright. The other move I could consider as well is queen b6 here, just to get that bit of activity. This bishop's always going to be a bit of an issue. I'm not too worried about it. I could also close so the rook doesn't get activity. Let's keep it a little bit complicated. Let's play knight here. Okay, and it just captures. And b4. So grabbing a bit of space here. Interesting. This may be a eventual target if he doesn't try to trade it off. Could also consider a sacrifice here, but I don't think that's warranted. So let's just offer the trade of bishops here. Immediately challenges my knight, but I think the knight might be quite happy coming here. So I think I'm going to trade. I was wondering if it might have tried this as an intermediate move. Okay, so queen down there, so as I'm playing queen c7, it's discouraging me from putting the knight right in, otherwise I'm dropping a pawn there. And I'm wondering if I do this sequence of moves, well, if I just go here, it's going to then try for c4. And how bad is that? I could also go for queen b6. This is a fairly tame game, I think I would say. Queen b6 and just live with those ugly doubled pawns and just try to sort some of these pieces out. Could also consider getting my knight in here. Um, which doesn't really threaten anything at the moment. So, kind of feeling yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at the options that White has. I was looking at something like this, and eventually this, give the knight a stable post, maybe getting the bishop out to here. What I do have to watch out for is that eventually he's got this jump, although my knight is sitting on top of that. And he's always kind of looking for this, but by doing that I can get the rook out to a more helpful square. Also supports my bishop coming out. So I think I'm going to go for b6 here. So the knight just jumps in immediately. And yeah, my bishop's not looking too exciting sitting there. And if I try to just trade that knight, I wonder if it's going to try some sort of jump around to there. Or pawn storm on the king side. It might be trying to prepare that as well. Alright, I need to get my pieces out. I think this is actually one of the best positions I've gotten out of a fresh setup. So mixing around which piece the Magnus bot is down. So I think just sensible moves here are going to be fine. Yes, my knight's a bit offside here, but it's doing some work, and eventually I can probably force a trade. And I think the only threat from white is some kind of pawn storm on the queen side, king side. So I need to maybe keep some pieces around, just eyeing that up. But in the meantime, let's go for this. Okay, maybe threatening this and then to get a battery going there. Could be an idea. I think, so I'm just saying queen c7 because I wanted to avoid putting it on this row looking at the rook. So c4 after that. Let's get rid of the arrows. C4 there. White's got 4 pieces on that. I've also got 4. So I think we could just take with the pawn there. So takes, 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 takes. And if I just move the queen out of the way, is that so bad? Don't think so. You know what, let's just move the queen somewhere else. Okay. And what this allows me to do is to very simply just double. So white is maybe preparing something here, but I think I'll be in time. Actually, I may just be able to play queen c5 now. I think that should be fine. In fact, I should have probably been eyeing that up a couple moves ago. I don't think the knight's got any great jumps. If I do that, yes, my rook is floating, but let's get this move in while we can. Okay, so it captures. So now, do we want to take with the pawn or the rook? So by taking with the rook, obviously I can line this up, and then white's going to have to do something about this pawn. It could push it, and it might do that immediately. I think I'm happy with that. The only thing I'm worried about is some sort of push like this, removing the knight, and then this knight maybe gets access to some annoying squares. The advantage of taking with the pawn here is I could threaten something like c4, or even d4, which are all interesting options. I'm going to take with the rook. Okay, so white's preparing to just passively defend that. And I'll have to prove I can break through that blockade when that happens. So maybe getting the knight around somewhere like there could be an idea. So in that case, I might want my rook here because I imagine this opening up. But I think for now, let's just force that rook to go off the d file. Do a move like this? Does that get me anywhere? Probably not. So knight here. I think white should take. I don't think it should let my knight get into e3. So the rook goes to attack it. I don't know, maybe that's fine. Well, I can also just take this knight, and if that knight has to move away to a passive square, then I'll already be doing alright. So it takes with the rook. Okay, so we've gotten a lot of trades in. I can probably win a pawn quite soon. This rook's doing nothing. Behind that pawn is just trying to defend it. Might be planning something like this. You always have to look out for stuff like that. So what's on my mind is something like this. Rook here, knight there to try to trade this knight off, which is doing a pretty good job, just holding things up a little bit. It's kind of blocking my rooks from getting some decent access. And the other rooks are also doing a pretty good job of that as well. So I think I'm going to go for that. The only thing is that I give up But I can always go rook here to trade rooks off. I do give up this file, maybe this square for a check. King there and some kind of knight takes, although the rook will be guarding it. But I think I can always go for a trade, so it brings a king in closer. Defending f3, which was under attack. I have actually a tactic. Oh no, I thought I had one. If you check, and then the pawn takes and skewering the rooks, but then I can just capture that. So that's not really an option at the moment. And yeah, basically I just need to remove this knight. It's just too strong, holding everything up. So we'll do that. Send it to a passive square. And now I can probably consider getting my rook in. Like a knight there. But I think I have some decent activity and a bishop there as well at some point. Could also kick the knight again, but it's just going to go there, and then I don't know if I can get the knight out of that comfortable little hole it's sitting on. Maybe I should just be considering moves like this. Just get flowing with my pieces. I don't know. It's a very good position at the moment. I just don't want to throw it. It looks like kind of simple, slow play, but honestly, this bot is very good at just winding you up in a knot sometimes. I think the knight's quite happy on e3. It targets this pawn, and it means I always need to leave a rook or my bishop defending it. This rook can also come to add to the attack, and if I have my bishop there, I'm stuck. I'm kind of stuck for these pieces can't really get in the game, and I need it's rooks and bishops. I need open lines and diagonals for them. Another option is g5 here, just to open things up. Specifically f3 here, if I can open that up. Something like this. I don't even have to recapture. And yeah, that's a bit of a problem, that pawn. So maybe I should be going for that rather. Let's do that. Okay, so he's on my knight immediately. And I'm not loving that this rook's gotta sit there defending it. Maybe the rook's looking to go here. So I think this might be a good time to just eliminate that pawn before white can recapture with the rook. And if I go h5 here, does that do anything? Probably not. Alright, let's take that off the board. Ooh, it's got that. Alright, not ideal. I could just block this up now though. I can also insert a check here and even consider giving up this knight. So let's just calculate some lines. So the check here and takes. We could take with the king, but let's say it takes with the pawn. Rook here and I lose this. Am I getting anywhere with the rook capturing there? Probably not. And the other thing is, I obviously can always just block its attack with this rook and then just fix up the hole with the bishop, and even if the knight's coming here and I'm losing this pawn, which I don't even think I will. So let's trade down a little more first. Takes with the king. Now I may be tempted to do this. So I do get this with check, but taking here, and this is quite quite a dangerous pawn. Let's just keep it simple. So I'm guessing on this, probably wants this. And it's on that pawn and on here. But honestly, if it's going to trade, I've just won another pawn. And if it's going to trade the knight and I have to give up that pawn, and I'm a piece up, I think I'm doing fine there. I don't really want to take like this and just sort of, I don't know, I've got to spend quite a few moves getting my pieces so they can actually see some squares. And this knight's always got some good jumps, and I just realized I'm losing that as well, so that's not ideal. So yeah. So I guess that was its intention behind playing that. Now I think I may want to come over this side. Let's just give this knight a kick. Oh, it's got that. Let's be careful here. Knights are tricky. Okay, so here, and it's going to defend it with the king, right? Or where does it want to go to? Does it want to go to there anyways? So this is a fancier way of getting there. Rook here. That pawn there. Get my knight here. Something like that. Something like that. And then I think I'm doing fine. And this is the only dangerous pawn I have to watch out for. So let's do that. Okay, so I could also get my rook around here. I would be dropping this. Could force the exchange as well by putting my knight there. I might to give up a pawn. I think my knight's gonna be fine. He's got weaknesses. The c3 pawn, if I can get at that. Do you want this rather? Maybe, possibly. Alright, let's leave the rook where it is. I do kind of force this move though. So, alright, let's look at, so say rook here, there, knight here. I think he'd probably want to take, I mean, maybe he'll do the check. Takes, so pawn there, knight in there. And then tries to start running with this. But I can also recapture with the rook there. So maybe that's fine actually. Yeah, the only thing is I kind of want my rook here to just keep an eye on that pawn, but I think I can do some forcing moves here like that. That should be fine. I don't think these two pawns are going to be able to compete with my extra bishop. So let's just leave the bishop where it is right now. I'm guessing this is, well, not at the moment coming up, but something like rook here. And these pawns are going to start running. So I think the bishop is fine here because I don't want to allow the rook to come down here and then have to worry about these two and have my rook sit passively defending them. So let's just move this around. Okay, he wants it this way rather. But I think this is fine. Yeah. So is he getting anywhere with this? So here, do you want h5? Or does he want the king coming in? So here, h5. If I'm going to g7, then am I just allowing too much there? because I might at some point need to get my bishop around. All right, let's just calculate that here. H5, king back to G7, G5, bishop here. So maybe we should just go back to G7 then. Let's do that. Okay, and then the rook just kind of probes that point there. All right. Could consider F6. See, obviously this is the only entry point for that rook, so I just need to keep that under control. I've also got rook H6 here, something like G5 here, king there. How much tempo could I lose giving up that pawn if I ever want to move the bishop to say somewhere here? Yeah, it's kind of getting me in some knots. I think the rook's got to stick around here. I could think about F6 here as well, just to hold up the pawn advance. And maybe they would go with like H5, but then I wouldn't be too worried. I could probably just walk the king in like this, I think, and then I'd relieve the rook, and if I ever get the rook to like here, oh, I can't go there actually. That's an issue. Maybe move the rook here, do that. Could be a play. Okay. I think F6 is good. Yeah. All right. Now we just need to prove it. So coming in here, king there. That could be an issue. What am I doing with that? Sorry, just got distracted. So I can't really play this. And then king there, and I haven't got a way to cover all the weaknesses that I'm creating like that. So get myself in a little bit of a bind here. So king f4 is an issue. So I've kind of gotten my rook out of play here. Maybe I can go h6, and on king f4 I can go rook g8. And he's sort of blocking the, yeah, I think that's fine. He goes that way. Okay, I was thinking that the king would block the rook's eyes to this pawn, but by going this way, the rook can still use f1. So something like rook g8, just to try to get into g5. And so rook g8, rook f1. My pieces are sort of stepping over each other. Here, is that fine? Does that work? Maybe that's fine. Maybe you can actually get past. unless I give up that pawn. Something like, oh no, I can't. That was stupid. Yeah, see, I don't want to go with the king back here. That's blocking the rook's access. So, pawn on. Can't play this. I have stopped now. I'm not sure what he plays next. Maybe he just keeps pressure on. But then I am threatening this, so that's a bit of a problem. So I don't really see a move for white after this. He just has to take. So he's winning that pawn. So I could do something like this. Takes, or maybe you would actually go f6. But let's say this and takes. And then there. And king comes over somewhere and I can pick that up. I have to watch out. I have to go check again. Let's just see about, so there and f6. That's more what I'm worried about. So takes. Can I get that pawn in time? Probably can. Because otherwise there's this. And rook takes, so I might be actually making a few issues here. And what if I just go here? I guess the king comes and defends it. But I'm trading down quite a bit there. And I think that should be winning. So then just takes. Takes, rook takes, pawn takes, king takes here, there, something like there. King is getting to these, but I think I can eliminate these quick enough. Be interesting, I'm not sure. Right. So takes, I really want to take and allow rook here, he's on my bishop. Just kind of want an extra pawn for nothing, in my opinion. It's maybe getting a bit too much momentum. Alright, let's just look at this one again. So rook there, takes, take here and there, and then probably I would want to go for another check. That was my thought process. And then here, or if the king went back, whatever, and then takes. Basically, so I have rook here in the event of this check, trying to pick up the bishop. That was my thought process. If takes, and if here and pushes, takes there, check again. Of course, the king could also go up there. King comes over there. Can I pick up this pawn in time? That's kind of, I do have a pivot of this pawn. So rook over there. Rook takes. Pawn takes. Pawn couldn't really go on. And the other thing, if the pawn was trying to go on, I also had the bishop come back here. So let's try going for this. Okay, so he just captures. So let's go for that. And that. And just pick that up. Okay, so this is a lot cleaner. I think this was a better route to go down. I just didn't know if white had some sneaky alternatives. Now, the only thing, I guess he's trying to threaten this. I'm not too sure about this because I don't want the king coming and harassing the bishop. I think the bishop wants to be here, ideally. So maybe Just go for another check again. King here is probably the most annoying move. And then I need to find a good spot for the rook. Because he's going to get otherwise this pin on the bishop there. If I'm not breaking it with my own rook. I may even be able to just do king here, rook there, and king there. I think that's fine. Oh, king there. No, that's not possible. And maybe you might try to break these up, I don't know. Bishop is stopping rook from coming there. So maybe I should just go for that. Could also just go for rook there. That might be the simplest. I might go for something like this. And what am I doing there? Yeah, this bishop is still not over because the bishop's in a bit of an awkward place. Yeah, I'm gonna just go for this. Okay, so rook around the back. Alright, so now maybe is where I start checking the king to get my rook out of dodge. So here I just don't want the king getting there, so I'm going to start with this. And I can always drop the rook back here, and I think this is fine. It might go for this then, though. That's probably what it'll try to do. Go for this. It tries to get on my bishop. I'll have to immediately address the bishop issue. Kind of want to stop the king from entering anywhere here. So if ideally I'd like to put the rook back there. But then king there. She gets a little bit annoying, maybe. I don't always get the bishop out. That should be fun. Yeah, of course, goes for the most annoying move. So bishop there to come around like here or there. And if rook check, I don't even need to defend my rook at the moment. The other thing was that the rook does defend against that. Ah, yeah, but that's fine. Just defend that way. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so he goes there. It's quite an automatic move. Now, obviously this, he's going to go for that. So I think I should try to close the gap. So there, there. Something like that. Okay, so he's trying to break up pawns. It's the only option. And if you can trade everything down, you know, it is a draw. So, well, if you can get it to just a rook versus bishop, but not really sure how easy that is. Okay, so I think I need to take this. Because he's going for that pawn there. That was a good move. So I think I need to get my king over to help defend this so my rook can be free with the bishop to harass the king. I think that's the plan, otherwise my rook's always stuck guarding that. And he's going to try to trade that off, isn't he? Let's say. So maybe I want the rook here. That does work, yeah. And actually the rook will be kind of trapped in there. I wonder if I could trap it somehow already. I don't think so. Not easy. Um, see that? He's gonna come over with the king, isn't he? Into there. Fuck, man. This is the only thing I was thinking. Okay, if I don't go there, he's got this. Eventually, when the king's, oh, he's also got that with just a. So let's just come out of that. Now I don't want the king getting over here. So can I go check there? If the king tries to go in, I go check again, and then I force him behind there. That's kind of what I want. So I want my king to sit like somewhere here. Maybe I just go with the rook there directly. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so he's coming around that way. So I think this all should be fine. Okay, I've missed this. The rook was supporting that pawn push. Can I play check? King here and pawn there. Preserve the pawn check. Doesn't work, but he is. So check, king there, pawn forward. If the rook tries to collect it, I should be in time with this king. And is he in time to support something like this? The pawn's promotion, I don't think so. I can get this in. I might just go back there, the king. I'm not really achieving anything. I'm trading this pawn for that pawn. So how do you win this? Interesting. I think that's just overcomplicating it. We'll just trade that down. And now I just need to. I have to get my rook and pawn, my rook and king on that pawn basically, to where he can't defend it. He doesn't have a lot of space to defend it from, which is a good thing. So I think that's the next goal. Just march, and I don't think he can ever exchange rooks. So yeah. So let's just work on that. Yeah, let's go here. Oh, that doesn't work actually. Okay, we need to watch the 50 move rule. I don't think I should be letting his king in there. I need like a waiting move here. Let's offer the exchange. Yeah, okay. Then I can get my king around behind the rook. Like this. Okay, so here and then maybe king there. Then I can check. I have to be careful not to get mated myself, so king there. And then king up there would just be checkmate, right? Alright, so how can I actually get over? So king up here. Check king there. Okay, sorry, that wasn't the issue. It was there and there was the issue. So probably I need the rook there. He just goes back. Okay, let's work this way out of this one. King here is what we want. What we don't like. Can I just play king up there? And then, yeah, but that's fine, right? So I can just block that. fine, right? Should be fine. Cannot get out of here. So king here. He's got the check there. I can just go up to there now, and then king here. He's gonna go up there. Am I getting mated? I'm not getting mated, right? So I can move the rook out of the way. Check and just go there. But I'm getting to like one of these 3 squares. Should be alright. Okay, he just goes back. And we get the king closer. Okay, I think the king's trying to make the other way around. This guy, he's got no chill. So king here, king there, king there. I'm trying to get the rook up and over. Rook there, king there. My king being on this square. Rook there. Should be fine now. Check. Can't get out of that. So maybe I need to reroute the bishop to here. But then I'm giving him options to defend the pawn from here. And he could actually just sit on that. He could just sit indefinitely on defending the pawn as long as the king's on it. Because he can burn a move by just moving the rook 1 or 2 squares. So the king getting there is pretty crucial. So let's think about it. King here, king there. Can we stop that? Go rook here. Already tried that. Then king up and over. Oh, he can't because I just take. And if he checks, yeah, that's fine. Why did I not calculate that? So rook up here. So I have to go rook up first. Can't go there. He drops a pawn. Rook up here. You can't check me either. Yeah, so I win the pawn. That was a mighty. Okay, now I've got. I don't have discovered. I thought I had discovered on the rook. And I would just trade down. Well, I don't even know if that's winning. Should be. Alright, now I just need to arrange pieces maybe here, there, king there. Should I cut the king off from approaching the pawn? Ideally. So maybe the bishop like here, king there, rook there. The king takes, I've got this, winning the rook. And if the king goes down, well, the bishop's still defending the pawn. So that's just getting too complicated though. Should I just be going here and building a bridge and then moving my bishop and supporting the pawn forward? It's maybe a better idea. It's maybe not necessary. So bishop here, what's he got? I guess there. Just go there. Oh fuck, I just lost the pawn. Oh, glory days. Oh my god. Oh lord. Well, it happens. This playing so slow and I still slip. Come on. I don't think there's anything here. There. Not even attacking the rook. this guy will just play this out. I mean, it's not even a fun end game to draw. There's no way the computer loses this end game. Just drawn. That's annoying. Right, I have lost this. Just wondering if does it allow other moves? Let's try to wait it right out. Except this was, sorry, not a loss. This was a draw. I mean, I'm not gonna lose being a bishop up. But let's just see how we maybe could have won this, because obviously there were still a few sneaky moves in there. So the only reason I didn't want to put my bishop there is it's gonna get attacked by the rook. And I wonder if I could just ignore that even. Pushes, takes, pushes, pins it. Something like king up there. King there. Maybe it's not winning. Just rook over. I don't see how he's not gonna have to give up the rook. Let's just try that actually. Oh, this is not play. You're not allowed to do. Where's the settings? Is this the setting? Can I switch sides? Will it play? No. Oh, it is playing now. Okay. Let me just see if this was actually winning. Okay, so it's on the rook. And my rook's holding the bridge. Yeah, this should be winning. Right, so I just missed right at the end there, but I don't know how to. Seems like I don't know how to checkmate with the king and rook, but yeah, that was just a slip up at the end, which happens, but yeah, it happens. These things. Oh my God, focus. All right, let's check that game out. Yeah, so as you can see, quite a challenging bot. Out of the opening, it likes c5. Yeah, I think this is fine. Just trading on d4. That looked a bit dull, but let's see 6. Okay, h3. I just want to stop any nonsense coming to g5. And now we've got castles, castles. And as you can see, it's quite a solid bot, so there's not going to be any kind of spikes and stuff where it does weird moves. It's just going to be kind of a slow, painful grind. I was wondering here if it could insert this, if that was any good. I thought I might have to take here. No, what am I thinking? Just drop that back. Yeah. Knight a5 I thought was fine. Okay, here I was a bit stuck as what the best moves. a6, it just wants to challenge the pawn if it tries to hold on to it. Bishop d7, okay, maybe it's too weak and can't really support it. So is my knight. That looks very ugly. Anyways, there's other candidate moves here. Bishop d7, b6 is also up there now. Okay, so rook c8. Yeah, these are all sensible moves. Sorry, it was a bit more of a boring game, but I didn't win it, right? I did draw, or should have drawn, but to get this opening, sometimes it took me 20 games against a specific night odds version, like the Black's Queen's Knight missing or something, to actually get a win. So, and trying tons of different lines. It loves the French defense. I hate playing against the French defense. Okay, so knight so g4. Okay, g4 from white. Yeah, I thought it should kind of throw a pawn storm. I thought that was its best option. Okay, fc8. Yeah. Okay, queen c5 instead. Right away. Yeah, just a very solid game. I had space to put my pieces. I'm slowly climbing up. This all looks kind of sensible. Here, yeah, taking with the pawn is a bit better than the rook takes. What about coming in with the knight? Yeah, that looks top. Rook d5, so just plugging the hole, or the knight coming in. h5. I was also looking at h5 eventually when the knight did want to go back. Actually, h5 looks very... How did I challenge? So it would have been it would have had to exchange the knight if I had h5 on the board. So that actually looks quite strong. Is maybe h5 here? No. What's wrong with h5? Looks good. a4 and then a knight d5 rather. So you want to try to force the exchange. But it's very good at just kind of trying to keep material on and just trying to wear you down. So you have to be ready for like a long grind. Yeah, I thought exchange these pawns was good. What's another kind of critical moment? d5 was better than plugging it with the bishop. Yeah. And here, they prefer the pawn. No, they prefer the bishop takes. Yeah, it just stays more flexible. Obviously, I dropped that pawn there. King g7. I was wondering about f8. Just I thought he might try to get onto the g file, but yeah. That's what challenge the knight. So e takes f5, and that looks so ugly. I guess you do get some pawn exchanges. Maybe just no, you can't go rook there. So what's the idea? Knight there. You drop that pawn. Knight c5. Okay, so just go start going after his pawns. 93, yeah, rook c8, so rather than c5. Okay, so let's just walk through what the computer thinks about that line. So if it tries to go for this, and I was thinking king e6, okay. Knight c5, it still looks okay for me. I don't know if this is anything, that's probably not as strong. King e6, yeah, those pawns are under control. Okay, rook c8 then. So check, and I can now exchange it finally. So this was important that I kind of forced the knight to exchange, because otherwise he's dropping he's dropping this pawn. And I think if he tried to push it, I was just looking at this. So if he goes here, yeah, and now this file's sealed. Now my bishop can move. Now the rook can move. This rook's got to find another way in. It's not as easy. So that's kind of what I was hoping to force. Knight g4 and then that exchange. And was rook c8 right here the best? Now wants e5, king g6, just start pushing the pawns. I got a bit stuck here. So rook h8 or g8, it's kind of either one, take your pick. King e7, so stay central. Okay. And then h5, just start pushing again. Okay, so I'm not highlighting the moves on the board. I'm not sure if you can see the engine evaluation here, but just trying to get through these moves quickly. So was f6 good? F6 was good. It was one of their top moves. Yeah, I just wanted to hold up either of these pawns forward. At some point it could be scary if you don't pay attention to it. It could tie you down and could get kind of scary. King g6. So what was I thinking here? Maybe this. And then I couldn't really, and the king could come in here, and I can't really get my bishop around to cover these squares. That's sort of what I was thinking. Maybe there's no problem there. Okay, f5 here is fine. Wow, so you want to allow this, but then you can just take that. Interesting. But wait, f5 and you're dropping the bishop. How does that work? Let's just have a look at that. King f6. Okay. So it's the same thing, giving up those 2 pawns. Okay, so you just take because everything's under control. You can always shield. Interesting. f5 immediately rather than what I was trying. Rook g8, yeah, you have to rook b8. Maybe that's pointing that. I don't know what that's for. And then obviously I'd like to get this in, but rook f1's forced. I think if he plays anything else, say move like this. Oh no, f5. What's the idea? I also get rook g5. And basically I'm just trying to get my rook around here, and then maybe I can drop the king back there if he's attacking that. And once the rook's up here, it's much, much better. So he goes there, and king g7 getting back in the way of the rook. Interesting. So here I went for f5. That looks fine. And then rook f8. That was the other move I was thinking. Yeah, rook f8, rook g5, or e5 even. Yeah. So I didn't like the capture. Rook takes f5. I mean, that just looks terrible. Yeah, that looks terrible. And then the other one, this. And then I thought maybe king g4. And then I can just trade down. I was just wondering if he's I don't know, getting to this pawn, but probably not. So f6 would have been the move. Bishop g2, interesting. But basically it seems like I can come around and collect that. Although I need to watch out for something like this. But I'm threatening that, so. So f5 takes rook g5, f takes e6. Does f6 not work here? Yeah, probably for what else? Yeah, and then that's check, yeah. That's kind of critical. And if the king tries to come over, oh, I could just get that check. Okay, that obviously doesn't work. So you'd have to go back there, and then, oh, I could just, yeah, that's much cleaner than whatever I was thinking of. Well, I was looking at the king coming over there, but yeah, obviously that just wins the rook. So we had the actual moves, we had this, and then was there an easier way to get out of this ending that we ended up with? Because that was so painful. So we want rook f5. Is that move in the game? No. Play that. Once rook f5, king e4, so the king is trying to come over. And I think if you ever went, say somewhere here, yeah, the king's coming in that way, so you don't want that. Then king g5. Okay, the rook's held by the bishop. Rook d8, getting behind. Rook f1, so you just keep the rook more active, basically. And what about this pawn? Is that fine? So rook check. Okay, that's a nice configuration. A little wall there. King d4. Okay, you're happy to let that go. Interesting. So he's ever taking. There's a mate on the board, right? So white's got to watch out for that. All right, so that's using some activity. Now, what about with without using activity what I did. Got myself all tangled up. No. Okay, that's already not great. Yeah, that's already a bit of a negative move. So rook c5 is better than this. Bishop d5. Wow. Well, that's an issue. So you're kind of just using tactics to defend that base of the pawn chain. I don't know. Can you go like this and try to get in here? King f6, I guess. Rook h8. Rook d5. It still looks a bit grindy. a5. I mean, there's still problems with this. Rook d3. Okay, so as long as you can pick off some of these. Alright, let's just follow a bit more of what happened in the game. So this was a bit of a negative move. Bishop e6. It doesn't like the bishop sitting there. It was just too passive. It's just too much out of the game. Yeah. a5 I had to take. Rook a6. a4 is not amazing. King f4 it wants. What's the king going around? Probably like this. I think. That would be my guess. And he has this. Once the rook comes back here. Okay, so this is just like security play, but it's very slow and boring. Okay, here this was the other critical points of that. And did I have this, this, and this? That, that. What, I was thinking this. King c5, and he's back on this pawn. And just wants the bishop to go back. So basically, I'm pushing this pawn, but losing this one. I don't know if that's any better. I'll eventually pick up this pawn, but yeah. Let's just follow that out for a few moves. King b7, king just takes on c4. There's nothing going on there. H7. Yeah, I mean, it's two passed pawns, and now I need to do work to pick this up. It's just unnecessary. Yeah, but I forgot with the rook being here that he could do it. I just completely forgot. Thought I could just sail the king around to defend this, free up my rook, possibly. Was there a better move? No, king c8 was the top move. Okay, yeah, I was just trying to look which way I wanted to go with the king. Is that the correct? Yeah, king b8. Okay, so the computer's got the same idea. That's nice to see. King a7, so just come around that way. I maybe need to let it get to a better depth to figure out the winning plan. Rook b6, yep. King a6, yeah, it's got the same plan. Okay, I could have gone with a check first. Yeah, I was just trying to be precise in case I didn't get into some mating net here. And then this was all fine, yeah. That's one of these intermezzo checks. I don't think they're necessary. Just carry on. Computer's not very good sometimes. Having a solid plan. Okay, so rook b3 better there. Not sure why. Maybe just to bridge over. So if this, you can get that. Maybe take with the king. And yep. Rest of it is obviously that massive blunder, which I played. What did I do here? Just did this. Just gave up that pawn. There's nothing. But yeah. And was that actually the top move? I wonder if that was the quickest finish. Yeah, it just forces trades. Nice. Found the winning continuation. So rook d3 check first. c3. Yeah, just get the pawn rolling. Yeah, c2. Yeah, what's he gonna do about it? And then take 50 moves to checkmate the king and rook, like so. don't see me winning a Blitz tournament. Anyways, this video has gone on for really long. Appreciate if you guys sat through the whole thing, and thanks for watching. Take care.